In this video, we are going to talk about the recent change in Danish educational scheme, the ruling that came into power on 25th of June 2021 that have essentially eliminated majority of the study spots at university colleges and academies. Now this video is going to be a little bit longer. There are going to be 3 parts. In the first part, which is going to last ideally between 2 and 5 minutes, I want to give you a very brief overview of what has happened, the reasons why it happened, and answer some frequently asked questions that we are receiving from you guys. In the second part of this video, I want to dive a little bit deeper into the topic, how the whole situation started, what are the economical implications, what are the social implications, and what are my opinions and opinions of our team on this certain ruling. In the third part of this video, we are going to interview my teacher from Vienna University College and ask him a few questions about the recent changes. How does it affect their job? Whether they saw this coming? What are their opinions on this topic? Because they are the lecturers at the end of the day. And in general, see how is the study environment in Denmark going to be changed on the bachelor's level. When the Danish government has in 2013 agreed to make deals with European Union that the international students should be allowed to take SU the same way that the Danish students are able to. They have set out a certain budget for themselves. How much are they going to be spending on SU? They have set an amount, or they have expected an amount that is going to be 449 million, that back in 2013. Unfortunately, in 2018, they were already spending 513 million Danish kronas on SU. In general, not only for internationals. Well, if we talk in the economics of yum yum ramen noodles, which cost 4 kronas a pack, you are essentially looking at 128,250,000 packs of yum yum ramen noodles that Danish government is able to purchase every year with the money that they are spending on SU. What can you do with such a high quantity of yum yum ramen noodles? Well, for example, with a surface area, which in case of one ramen noodles is 64 square centimeters, you are looking at 820,800 square meters of noodle area, which roughly estimates to 115 football fields if you would lay all of the ramen noodles on a surface. Now let's assume that the Danish government does not want to fund 115. Now let's assume that Danish government does not want to fund 115 football fields covered in ramen noodles. Well, that's unnatural. Well, with their latest estimates, they want to be spending only 100 football fields worth of ramen noodles laid one next to each other. Okay, jokes aside, the reason is economical but also social. But the real implication is they want to reduce the number of study spots which are taught in English on university colleges and academias, down from a couple of thousand back to 650. So how does this change going to affect you as a student? Essentially, you are looking at mostly being only able to enroll into IT programs or engineering programs with a few exceptions. Second frequently asked question we are receiving is whether this is going to affect master's degrees. No, this is not affecting master's degrees. Third question, is this going to affect SU? No, this is not affecting SU. This is a consequence of SU being overspent, but no, they are not touching the SU. You're fine. What if you have already started to study? Well, in that case, you should probably consider switching to university to finish your bachelor's degree, because the professional bachelor, which is the level on top of AP degree, is also going to be cancelled. When is this change going to take place? From the summer of 2022. The Danish government has distributed 650 study spots across different university colleges and academias. I'm going to show you a screenshot right now where you can see which ones those are. So now you should have a very brief understanding of the situation that is taking place. So now let's try to dive a bit deep, take a deep breath, and try to uncover what the Danish government has been doing. So back in 2013, the Danish government has made a deal with the European Union, where the European Union has essentially demanded the Danish government to treat international students equally to the Danish students. I do not know the exact requirements or the details of this deal, but Denmark has agreed that as long as international students would be working for 43 hours a month, they would be given an equal status with Danish citizens, and they would be able to take SU. Now, why is this a problem? The problem is that only 21% of all of the students that finish university colleges and academies are able to find work after they finish their studies. What is unfortunately a recurring theme is that the students will stay in Denmark for 2 years after they have finished their AP or their professional bachelor degree. They will take benefits from the government for being unemployed, and based on the statistics, they then move back to their home country or they do not find an employment within their field. Denmark has decided to make some changes to the whole scheme. So from summer of 2022, all of the English-speaking programs are aimed to be made in Danish. Because of course, Denmark doesn't want to discriminate their own students from pursuing a higher education, but at the same time, they do not want to fund study spots for internationals which are then not able to find jobs. Honorable mention in this is that the bill is passed and the details are going to be in the description. You can read the exact points, you can run it through Google Translate. The point is that Denmark is not doing this to rule out the internationals. Denmark is only trying to reduce the number of the study spots to those AP programs and to those professional bachelor programs which are actually able to find a job in Denmark, which are unique, which are novel, which are in a certain way able to produce talent, which is then able to find a job in Denmark. This has already been done in the past. In 2018, there has been a cut to the number of study spots in Denmark. There was up to 2,000 study spots that were reduced from these university colleges and AP degrees, university colleges and academies. But this was mainly concerning business studies, not IT, not engineering studies, because these are actually able to produce high quality, skilled workforce that Denmark needs. Now, the point number 10 that is mentioned in the official document is explicitly saying that Denmark will focus on monitoring the situation for English speakers. So this situation is bound to change as time progresses. So now in this part, we will talk about the situation for the universities. Then we will talk a little bit about the situation for students, and then I will present to you my own opinions on this change. So Denmark, in the bill that has been passed, have mentioned that they will give money to university colleges and academies that are mostly affected by this change. Very briefly, university colleges, universities, academies, higher education institutions in general are incentivized to intake students and then educate these students and receive money in return. University, even though a government institution, is still a business. They need to make money, right? And so universities are receiving money for all of the students that are graduating from different programs. So when the government is going to cut down on these on certain number of study spots, then of course universities are going to lose a bunch of the budget that they were planning with. So in the bill, it stated that every year Denmark will allocate a few millions of Danish kronas that they are able to then redistribute among these universities so they don't suffer such a harsh setback. Now, of course, the study environment is going to change quite a lot. For example, in a city where I still live, where I have studied in Horsens, just south of Aarhus, the student community is quite large, and it is mainly due to the programs that are going to be cut off from the VIA University College. So there is going to be definitely a change in the study environment. Whether it's going to be for better or for worse, that is the question for the future. Now, at this point, you should have a pretty good understanding of what's been happening with the government, what might be their reasoning. Now it's time for me to share a little bit of my personal opinion on why this has been happening. Why has the situation deteriorated, even though the Danish government has set out a certain budget to allocate? They were expecting an influx of internationals. However, they didn't see this coming, obviously. That's why they need to pass this bill and restructure things a little bit. As I mentioned previously, university colleges and academies are a little bit different from universities. I can compare it firsthand because I went to both. And in certain levels, these two institutions are uncomparable. Even as I was talking with my teacher that we are going to interview in a minute previously about this topic, academias and university colleges are not pretending to be universities. When we are talking about university, we are talking about places such as Aarhus University, Copenhagen University, Danish Technical Institute, DTU, so on and so forth. There is altogether 8 universities. But there is a bunch more of academies and university colleges. Now, to nerd a little bit, the term for academia in Danish is academy, which means company academy, or an academy where you go so that you can become an employee at a company later on. Now, this is a very big distinction between a university and university college and academia, but we will put those in similar bracket just for the sake of this argument. University is aiming to produce an academic out of you. You come to the university to study a diverse range of topics on a bachelor's, and on a master's you are trying to niche in a little bit with the hope and notion that after you finish your master's degree, then you will proceed to be an academic in a field. You will produce a research, you will attend a doctorate and postdoctorate, and hopefully become a professor and create a valuable output for the academia, for the scientific world. That's why majority of the subjects that you are going to be learning at university are very much different from the university colleges. On university, you are expected to learn how to read scientific literature. You are able to talk about very difficult and abstract topics with a teacher, and you are expected to learn very different topics within one area, which are quite theoretical, as contrary to university colleges. University colleges, on the other hand, are aiming to provide you with a practical framework and practical skills that you can then translate into a job. Now, this is just my personal opinion, but what I view the EBS Academy, the work academies, the university colleges, I see these as a continuation of higher education for Danes that were not interested to pursue the academic journey of university. However, after gymnasium, after their high school, they were not comfortable just having that. They wanted to further their focus, broaden their horizons, right? So they wanted to study, but at the same time, they didn't want to study too much, right? Or they didn't want to go into nitty-gritty details of different theories of economical disruptions in the Mid-East Asia. Whatever, you can study a bunch of very abstract things in universities. So university colleges were this sort of a safety haven where you could go and you could study, for example, marketing, but you could study it in much more natural terms. So that means that you would not be exposed to all of the marketing theories and supposed to learn all of the frameworks by heart and then write long essays and assignments on this. You were expected to collaborate with small and medium-sized companies to learn what tools are being used in real life scenarios so that you can find a job afterwards, after you finish this, because arguably having just a gymnasium or high school in Denmark is not enough. Now, so why is this a problem? And if you're a Dane and if you attend these university colleges or the academies, arguably there is not that much of a problem. You attend these schools, you study AP degree for 2 years, or you do a top-up and you have a bachelor's degree or a professional's bachelor degree, and you are able to manage small, medium-sized company marketing team, for example. Unfortunately, the problem arises when you enroll a bunch of internationals into these degrees. And firstly, let's go back and let's mention that Danish educational institutions were progressively pushing these study degrees towards English, because of course it's much better for the Danish work market if majority of your employees are speaking English. So if you expose them to English on the university level, then of course they're going to be much better in the workplace, and it makes much more sense for the economy. So it makes sense for the Danish government to fund the opening and rise of English-speaking study spots within academies and university colleges. So why is this becoming a problem? Unfortunately, there has been a rise in a certain business niche within Eastern European countries where certain agencies, I'm not saying that all of them, but certain agencies have decided to abuse this sort of an incentive business model. And let me just briefly state that university colleges are, based on our unofficial sources, spending more than 1 million Danish kroner on funding and reimbursing these agents in Eastern European and Asian countries to find international students that are able to study in Denmark. So there are agencies which are essentially able to guarantee you can literally purchase it's called a garant package. So you, for I believe it was 300 or 400 euros, there is going to be a screenshot on the display, where you can purchase for 400 euros a package where they guarantee you as a high school student that you will be enrolled into a Danish higher education institution.
To je férová ponuka, keď si dáte ešte k tomu, že v balíčku Garant aj v balíčku Premium si dávate až 5 prihlášok, v balíčku Smart 3 a v klasiku 1. Garant Premium máte dokonca test angličtiny, preklady, vysvedčení a kopu ďalšej pomoci.
No matter what are your grades, no matter what is your resume, they guarantee you that they will find you a study spot. When I've been admitted to university college in Horsens, I have been in a class with 170 people or 180 people, out of which I have never seen maybe 40 ever again. But for half a year or for a year, they were still students. They were getting SU and they were working along the side. And out of those 180 people, I believe there was maybe like 60 of us that finished the bachelor's degree. And out of those 60, there's been maybe 15 or 20 of us that have continued to master's degree. The rest, well, not so much luck. They were not able to find jobs. Some of them were, most of them were not. Some of them stayed in Denmark, most of them did not. So in my personal opinion, this move by the Danish government is understandable. Of course, on the other hand, I have to share with you the other side of my story, which I do not usually do on this channel, and I really do not want this channel to be about me. But if it wasn't for the university college, I would most likely not ever get into a university. And if I would not ever get into university, I would probably not realize my potential and never realize my passion for research, academia, going in depth about topics, and, well, being a little bit of a nerd. Now, I'm not saying that people in university colleges cannot be nerds. Some of them can be. And I'm not saying that all of the study spots at university colleges are bad. The IT education at VA University, the engineering, all of these are very, very good educations. But guess what? There is maybe 30 people that admit and maybe 25 that finish it. Contrary to 200 people on marketing degrees or business degrees that finish, that start a degree but rarely finish it. So now I was one of the lucky ones that got admitted to a university college, finished the university college, and thanks to a lot of lucky circumstances, I was able to then enroll into Aarhus University. If it wasn't for the first part of the puzzle, I would never get into Aarhus University because my grades were not that great when I was finishing high school. Also, I didn't graduate from mathematics, physics, or IT, so that I would be prerequisite to attend Aarhus University. So this is my counter argument to why it might not make that much sense to close down these degrees. Because then Denmark might be missing out on international talent of people like me and people in my vicinity that have actually found a passion for learning complicated things and academia only too late in their life. If it wasn't for university college, I would never be able to get into Aarhus University. And if I would never be able to get into Aarhus University, then I would probably not be able to make these videos, and I would not go through the transformation that I went to go from very lousy student into someone that's able to get 12s or A's at Aarhus University and actually enjoying the things that he's studying and making friends with PhD students and well, being a little bit of a nerd. That was not possible for me before. So my counter argument is that Denmark might be missing out on a lot of potential by this move. And they probably understand this. And that's why in the bill, they are trying to make the study environment for the English-speaking programs still relatively good. So these are my two pieces on this whole topic. Let's jump now into the interview where I'll be talking with Flemming Bentzen, who is at this point senior lecturer at VA University College. He was my own teacher at marketing management. He is incredibly smart guy, incredibly generous guy, incredibly interesting guy. So I'm very much looking forward, and I hope that he can answer some of our burning questions. So let's get into it. Thanks for taking the time.
You're welcome. Thank you for inviting me.
So what will the Danish government do with the money it's about to save?
The money, as I understand it, will be used to finance another part of that agreement, which is to move some study spots away from the bigger cities into smaller cities, and thereby giving access to people not living in Copenhagen, Aarhus, other big cities, give them access to education.
Did you see this change coming, and what was your immediate reaction upon hearing the news?
I didn't see it coming. We were informed some weeks ahead of it, so that we were prepared. We didn't know the extent of it. We didn't know how much it would be, but we knew that something was coming.
Those students that will enroll into AP degree this year, in case of VIA and in general academias, this is the last year they can enroll into. Are they able to finish the bachelor's as they were promised maybe when they were enrolling?
That's a problem. No, if you enroll now and you start your 2 years AP, you cannot finish the top-up or the BA. So that's a problem, and we have to inform all the students about that. Maybe they've already been informed.
Do you think this was particularly a problem, maybe in case of Horsens, that there was a lot of students but not so many international companies that would be able to hire them afterwards?
I definitely think more companies should be looking at international students and hiring international students. I only know them international students as hardworking, ambitious, and good people.
Sometimes some of the students that are coming to study in the university, they barely show up the next week.
I know there are students, but it's a small percentage. And I like to focus on the people that are here, that are ambitious, that like to study, and I think it's the majority. And sometimes students don't show up because they also have to work, or it's a great balance. And I know it's a full-time study, and you have to be here, but sometimes you have night shifts, and it's tough to stay awake during the day as well.
Yeah. How long have you been a teacher at VIA University College, first and foremost?
I've been here for 10 years.
For 10 years. Is there some pattern that you could see in regards to the motivation of people or the quality of students over the past 10 years that might suggest why has Denmark decided to take the measures that it has taken?
No, I think the international students, they're just as ambitious, just as hardworking as they're used to, or actually maybe even better. So yeah, we have some very good international students.
Did you know about the agents that are offering the guarantee package, where for 349 euros they ensure that you will get into a Danish university or academia, and if not, then they reimburse you all of the costs incurred? Did you know about this?
I didn't know that was a practice.
Did you know that universities are spending money to reimburse these agents for finding students for them?
No, I didn't know if that's the way it is.
How do you expect the study environment to look in coming years?
It's going to be much more. It's gonna lack something. It's gonna lack the international students. It's a big loss. It's a really big loss, in my opinion.
Do you ever see Denmark changing its mind and returning the study spots to academias and university colleges and English taught programs?
Yes, I hope so, and it could be. I wouldn't rule it out. I think it's a possibility. I know different studies that have been made that says that we are financially, and especially financially, when we are helping out or giving education to international students, it's a good investment for Denmark. Even though you don't get a job in Denmark right away, or you go back to your own country, in the long term you might have relations with Denmark, and I can't really see the reason behind doing this.
hope they change their mind.
Hope they do.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I don't have much to say about it. You know, I'm not that much into the politics and.
Oh, that's good.
And you know, I'm trying to deal with it. I don't think they're gonna save a lot of money. And
I think the money saving aspect is, you know, when you look at it, take a look at an economical perspective, then in order to get the SU as an international student, you need to work at least 43 hours a month, right? So if you get at least an average salary of 130 a month, then you are looking at about 6,000 kronas that you make every month, out of which you have to tax about 2,500. So yes, Denmark does give you 6,000 kronas, but you have paid 2,500 in the taxes already, so you're left with about 3,500 that Denmark is giving you. But then again, that's something that you're going to pay in a rent for a Danish landlord, or you pay for Danish groceries.
Exactly.
So it's not leaving the country per se. There might be some individuals that of course enroll and then go back to their country, get a SU, whatever. People are assholes, right? But majority of students.
do you know any?
I know 2 maybe, or 1.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think at some point they kicked them out of the country and demanded everything back, you know. No, not the type of people you want in Denmark, right?
No.
But for majority of people, you live here, you work here, you take SU, yeah, but you then spend it in Denmark for Danish product,
Exactly.
Danish produce, right? It's
Yeah.
Denmark just putting money into their own economy, essentially.
Yeah.
So arguing simply about the economy might be a bit flawed, because there is probably a socio-political reason behind it, other than the economical.
It's not a financial decision. It can't be. Because let's say 20% that stay and get a job here, they will pay for the rest in no time.
One person, he works in a Corona test center, and at the height of Corona, he said that he saw some of the invoices, and just on the rubber gloves and the disinfectants on hands, they were spending hundreds of thousands of kronas every week. And then you tell me that Denmark really cares about a few hundred thousands worth of SU, maybe a few millions, if you add it up, like 2,000 students times 6,000 money. Like it is a lot of money, but at the same time, it's not that much money, right?
No.
If they can spend hundreds of thousands on hand disinfectants and rubber gloves.
Hundreds of millions on Corona. I mean,
Yeah.
billions.
Yeah. And a lot of the costs probably unaccounted and unallocated for, just lost somewhere in an accounting system, right?
Exactly. If it's 2 or 3 or 4,000 people from Horsens, right? Not living in Horsens anymore, who have jobs, part-time jobs, and who pay tax and shop here, and
Create the environment.
yeah. When you ask about the environment, how is it gonna change? You know, the language is gonna change, and I don't think I can see it in the town, you know. But maybe when they're not here, we will all feel what it meant, you know. You don't know what you have until you lose it, right? But the thing is that the Danish students, they're not very international. They're the Danish students here at VIA, and they need to meet more people and get a bigger perspective. There was a time when we talked about how to include the international students here at VIA, like thinking about them as coming here, and you know, we have to include them in our ways. The last 4, 5, 6 years, we've talked more about how to include the Danish students. And that's what they really need. They need to mix more with international people, and so that they get that experience, and they're okay with that.